Ready when you are, Matt.
Alrighty, well, welcome everyone to this introductory webinar. This marks a couple of different moments. One is the official launch of the Weber Insurance Services team as an official SAP partner for the EO Queensland chapter. So we're really excited about that. Weber has actually been a service provider for the Queensland chapter and a number of members for a little while, and we were really excited when they wanted to broaden that relationship. So it's my pleasure to introduce Dan, Chris, and Charlene from Weber, who are going to spend a little bit of time with us today to share a little bit from their perspective as a first opportunity to to give back to the chapter. These guys, through the SAP sort of onboarding and negotiation process, were really quite clear that they see a lot of these types of relationships as an opportunity to share what they know and really lead with a sort of learning first relationship approach. So that fit really nicely with the EO ethos. So very excited to hear what the Weber guys have to say. We'll spend probably 25 minutes in more of listening, absorbing mode, and then we'll have a chance to ask questions at the end. So Charlene, Chris, Dan, over to you guys.
Perfect. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, really appreciate the opportunity. Like Matt said, we definitely see a lot of synergies, and I think the way that we like to do business is closely aligned, hopefully with majority, if not all of the members. So yeah, today I've got Chris here, myself and Charlene, who runs our marketing, who's just behind the scenes, put together the beautiful branding package that we have in front of us. We're just going to talk, a little bit. We don't want to bang on too much. We're not going to shove things down your throat. If you guys have content or topics of interest or things that are causing issues, whether it be insurance or other things in a regulatory sense that may impact insurance, then by all means shoot all those suggestions forward either to us or through Kimmy if that's the most appropriate avenue. So as we kick to the next slide, we just got a brief disclaimer because we are in insurance, so it wouldn't be insurance without a nice little disclaimer to get started. We're just talking high level here. It's just all generic information. We're not, providing personal advice in this forum, although we certainly can. It needs to be in a more appropriate setting. As we go on to the next slide, just wanted to give everybody an overview of our organization as to where we sit, who we service, all those sorts of things. So the business has been operating for 15 years, started by Chris, and I joined about 18 months after that. So we're well established. We have 23 team members spread across the country, Tasmania, Victoria. Charlene is a Queenslander living in Victoria, so I'm not sure what that kind of makes her at the moment, but we sort of have representation, and that's the map indicates a bit of a split of our clients as to where everybody sits. So you see we are strong on the eastern side there. We've got a lot of experience in a wide array of industries, construction, health. We can basically do anything from tradies to large scale manufacturing to building high rises to designing bridges, working on process control platforms. We have a large skill set within our team. So there's 23 of us. We have 5, 6, 7 brokers, 6, 7 brokers.
Head office in South Australia.
Head office in South Australia. Queensland is close to my heart for obvious reasons. The sun being one of the main ones. So we like to get up there as often as possible. But our team, we've got people. We like to bring people in new to the industry, train them up the way we like to do business. We've got plenty of people with 20 plus years experience. Um, so we can service clients appropriately. We've invested in a lot of systems, technology, back office support, administration, assistant capacity. So we like to provide a certain level of service, meaning that when you have an issue or need to speak to us, you just pick up the phone and we're there. Um, Matt sort of indicated before, the education is a big part of what we like to do, hence the partnership associations that we deal with. We feel that the education model is far better than just trying to, sell, sell, sell. We just don't subscribe to that. We give our information freely via, documents on our website, mail outs, webinars, all that sort of stuff. So if you have time and you want to learn more, you'll be able to find some really great content on our website. So information sharing, education, really working in that kind of partner capacity is where we see ourselves. Um, we like dealing with people. I mean, we're in the business of insurance, but definitely in the business of people. So knowing your business, understanding you, talking with you, is really what we're here for. Next one, thanks, Kimmy. So I'm sure a lot of you use a broker already, so you'd be aware of the differences in terms of the way that you can acquire your insurance, be from a direct insurer or through an intermediated service provider like a broker. The main difference obviously being that we work for you as your advocate. So our responsibilities are to you and your business, meaning that we provide you advice. If things get, tricky, complex, we're not limited by the products that we have, as an insurer. We are a broker, so we have access to the full market. We do this all day, every day. So where you look at an insurance policy and, see pages and pages and pages of compliance and documents and inclusions and exclusions and wondering how it all kind of fits together is what we do. We read those documents all day, every day, so we can quickly identify issues, gaps in your coverage and then suggest alternatives. Now, the other thing that we like to do is the answer to some of your risk management questions are not always just more insurance, because we understand that businesses need to balance the commercial aspect of acquiring insurance, paying the premiums versus the value that they're going to get. So probably quite different to a lot of other places that will say, yeah, take massive high limits, take heaps and heaps and heaps of cover and spend the earth on it. I think there's a balance that you need to be smart about the way that you're, managing your insurance spend and identifying what sort of things that you're covering. So, you're better to have broader coverage than more of it. The idea being there's probably more likely exposure in a broader subset of areas rather than suffering huge losses. So these are sorts of things that we'll talk over and identify with your business and work out what is a good fit, and a lot of the time it comes down to your perception and your desire to take risk. Some people naturally are more conservative and they'll want more insurance, and other people are prepared to live on the edge, so they might be prepared to forego some things. So we just like to get that balance nice to make sure that you're really getting what you need. The biggest value that we add is when you have a claim. Often when you have a claim or claims, it may be, particularly if it's a professional indemnity claim, for example, or a construction claim or something that's, other than a home or motor, you might not have experience with that. So you might not know how the process is supposed to work, how long it's supposed to take, what your entitlements are. That's where we can really step in, hold the insurers accountable, make sure things are progressing at the rate they should. And we will give you advice separate to what the insurer or their solicitors are giving you. And it might not always be the same. There are things within business that you need to action sooner rather than later, and you may need to make some decisions early on, ways to protect your position or protect whatever it is that's exposed. And sometimes getting information from the insurer in that respect is hard. So that's where we'll step in. We might help you draft some emails or manage expectations with your clients. The insurance landscape is just constantly changing. There are always new products, new insurers, new regulations coming in. So it's not really something that you can just set and forget. It needs to be looked at with some sort of regularity. And that's also what we do in terms of making sure that we're up to date with all, industry standards, changes to regulation, making sure that we're informing you of issues, ideally before they happen. So it's sort of more than just come to us, buy your insurance. It's, all right, how do we sit down? What do you like to do? Let us understand your business, and then we build something for that. Go to the next one. Thank you. So our offering to EO Queensland members will obviously give you a complimentary review of your existing insurance program. That's often a good place to start, and that at least opens the conversation. Understanding kind of where you're at the moment, helps us understand where you sit with your kind of risk preference, and we'll kind of tie that back and make sure that what you think you have or what you had intended to get is in line with your expectations. We'll then provide our advice and recommendations. So, if we do review what you have currently, which is obviously not essential, we can just go from scratch. But if we do, then we'll highlight issues and gaps and make some recommendations as to where you perhaps want to be spending your time, or risk management strategies that you might want to implement to make your insurance journey a little easier. The other thing that we offer to our clients is a contract review service. This is probably one of the bigger areas of concern for a lot of business that kind of gets missed. And that's the contractual exposure. That's the, signing of client agreements and government contracts and all those sorts of things that, you might not think twice, but understanding that when you sign contracts, you are exposing yourself often to liabilities that aren't covered by your insurance. So it's really important to, one, try and address as much of that risk and get that covered as possible, but also understanding that, okay, if it's not possible to get it covered, where are my areas of concern, and how can I manage that other ways? How can I change my policies, my procedures, other ways to kind of limit your exposure? So the contract review service is something that we engage Meridian lawyers for. That's who we currently use. They will review contracts in line with your insurance policy and identify areas of uninsured risk, and they'll provide suggestions of ways to amend or redraft contracts. So it's a really, really nice add-on. No, if we go to the next. So it really is, we're not trying to just flog you insurance. We're not coming here to, make a quick buck. We care about businesses. We care about what you're trying to achieve in your business, because we're on our own journey. We understand what it's like to run a business. We know that, you guys face with decisions every day that sometimes you just need all the information that you possibly can to make an informed decision. So we think of ourselves as more of that risk partner, And given that we've got business experience, we can, tie that in with our own experiences, and make sure we kind of give you a full picture. Um, we know that, the idea for a lot of people and the goal is to grow the business, and insurance can often be an inhibitor of growth. If you are, trying to tender for contracts and you need a certain level of cover or certain inclusions, exclusions, or type of cover, that can be an inhibitor. So we like to make sure that we understand where you're going with your business so we can structure a program that is suitable, whether you're in a growth phase, whether there's things that you want to be able to do in the future, things that you do now, things that you did in the past. Where are you heading with your business to make sure that it can grow? And that's not necessarily through just natural growth. That's, acquisitions, mergers, all that sort of stuff, which I'll touch on in a little bit. Um, Obviously, exit strategy, growing businesses, selling businesses comes with insurance implications and risks. So we're well across what's required from an exit strategy point of view, particularly for professional services and um, other business exposures that have a tail risk. So, product suppliers, people in construction that are building and producing stuff. So there are a few different things to consider in that respect, which we're across. Um, I talked briefly just before about different products as well. So that can be from a regulatory point of view. For example, a lot of government contracts these days are requiring cyber insurance, and often really high limits of cyber insurance, which can be challenging to get. We have experience in that. If you're going to be, selling shares or bringing in investors or other directors, mergers, acquisitions, whatever it may be, management liability is key. Often, when you bring on outside directorship, the first thing that they'll ask to see is a copy of your management liability because that's what gives them protection and peace of mind. So there's all these things to kind of think about as to what the business is doing, where are you going to make sure that the insurance is suitable for that growth. Um, like I said, insurance can stop you winning work. It can stop you dealing with certain clients. So it really should be seen as a growth tool, not just a cost to your bottom line. It's something that can help you get to the next level. Just like, if you want to build something, the bank's not going to give you money without the insurance to go along with it. If you want to be on a government panel, the government's not going to appoint you unless you meet their insurance requirements. Same thing dealing with, big companies, dealing internationally. There's a whole host of different things to consider. If we just go next, I think that kind of gives you an overview of sort of how we started and what our philosophy is to, providing insurance and where we kind of see ourselves. We, like Matt said initially, we already deal with a handful of members, and we really like the way the relationship goes. We sort of see these association partnerships as really value add opportunities for us to kind of get in front of you and help deliver some content, and really help you out. So we don't, if you want to reach out and just have a general chat, we're always open to that. If you want something more tailored, that's also fine. But I think the main thing is we're really really stoked to be part of the association, and yeah, we're here if you need us. I mean,
No, it's all good.
wonderful.
Thanks for that, guys. I think that's a really sort of neat sort of snapshot of what you guys do and all that sort of stuff. I'd be curious in the spirit of sort of EO and the entrepreneur journey, just to hear another sort of five minutes or so on
Mhm.
how your sort of entrepreneurial journey has been, some of the highs and lows in building an insurance business.
Yeah. You want to take that
Yeah, I
one,
can
Will?
take that
You
one.
take it.
So, yeah, so I started Weber Insurance back in 2011. I had worked other insurance places for a good 6 or 7 years. At the time, I had two little kids, so they were 18 months and maybe 3 at the time. Had a mortgage, and then thought, what a great idea, go and start your own business without any sort of plan. So always backed myself in, always thought that I could be successful, and then have, ridden the journey from there. So we've probably had, I think we're up to stage 3, maybe stage 4 of the business, where we've just, we've had the time, like the early growth and the real lack of experience, understanding financials and cash flow, and you can't just go and spend all the money because you got to pay tax, and and then it's bringing employees on, and how do we manage other staff, and going through the times of paying people to do work and yourself not getting paid, which was a struggle, whilst also trying to grow a business. So we've always had like an online business as such, that we got a lot of clients, or work with a lot of clients from all over Australia. And then really probably our first turning point was signing up to be a partner for an association, which was Design Matters in Victoria, which used to be the old building design of Victoria. And from there, just kind of changed how we did things, and really wanted to get close to associations, and saw the value in our education piece, and started to really feel like we were a proper business and kind of growing. So at that stage we may have had, what, 4 people, 5 people
Not many.
at that time, and just doing the crazy hours and trying to work our way through it. We grew a little bit, and then we had to go backwards.
The classic 3-person board meeting at 8 p.m. till bloody midnight, where we're just talking riddles and circles.
Yeah,
I'm
trying
sure
to get through
everybody's
that.
experienced those.
And then we took on a couple of staff probably 9 years ago, which are still with us to today, and they really helped us launch into the new part of what Weber Insurance was, and really invested in people outside the industry and the training and education, and really getting them into our way of working. We tried early on bringing in experienced people, and it was just more of a hassle than what it was worth. And we kind of had our own mantra in the way that we did things. So we rolled through that till maybe COVID times, and COVID for us was, from an insurance point of view, was not too bad. From a personal side, I was also running a basketball club at the time where we had 5,000 members, and saw the other side of the disaster that was COVID. We had no money. We could not go from day to day, and it was a really traumatic experience for a lot of people. But then on the positive side, Weber was still surviving through there. So we got out of there, and which worked pretty well for us because we were always an online business before that. So, doing online things became the norm after COVID, and helped us really grow our interstate clientele, which is really good. And then, we just kind of ticked along for maybe until 2024. And then once we hit 24, Daniel and I had a conversation. We had one of our senior staff members go on maternity leave, and we had a conversation like how we're going to deal with this, and we felt like we'd been holding ourselves back for what we could potentially be doing. So at that stage, the start of 2025, we had 11 staff. And then we kind of just took the brakes off and said, let's go, let's see what we can do and how we can grow this business. And then from there, we took on 7 people last year, and then I think we're already at 7 maybe this year. We went back a couple, but yeah, and expanding. So we got Charlene in Melbourne, Nakia moved to Melbourne. We've got another person in Melbourne, and we've got someone in Tassie as well. And we've found that having to bring some more experienced staff to complement our team and really the next level of growth for us at the same time of being homeless and getting our own new office, which is being built at the moment. So we're in like a shared space, which is really awkward and difficult. That we've got 3 offices, 4 people in a small office, 4 people in another one, 2 in another one. People working from home, and it's not easy at the moment, but our new office will have a headcount space for like 25 people, which would be great, and will just put us into the new life of Weber Insurance. So
I think just to add, like the industry that we're in, financial services, is, I'm sure some of your members are in similarly. I won't refer to it as over-regulated, but heavily regulated. Like having our own financial services license and a business of our size really sets us apart in the market, because a lot of other industries, insurance is rife with just acquisitions and people owning multiple places and not really having a lot of control over your journey. It's unusual for a business of ours, of our current size, to have grown organically without acquisition, without outside capital, other investors. So we don't.
And at our age as well. So
Yeah,
we're very young compared to most in the insurance market as well. So the average age of insurance brokers at the moment would be in the early 50s or so, and there's a big tail off of retirement. So there's a massive consolidation happening at the moment. There's a real shallowness of available talent in the pool, especially here in Adelaide. That young people, it's not a glamorous industry, so we have to take upon ourselves to train and educate and bring people in. And we've been lucky that we've found some amazing people from all different backgrounds to bring into the insurance world, and try and do our thing of building the reputation of the industry away from what it can be perceived as. So we like to feel like we're a little bit different to others. And we spend a lot of time training and educating our staff, and our senior staff are fantastic. They spend time with the newer staff because they know as soon as they're ready to go, then they're going to be more helpful. And then it allows us to bring extra people. And then we kind of don't just like flow through. We bring people on, we find what they like, and then we kind of just expand
skill
from there. So we don't really find people, put them in a role, and then they stay in a role. It's, what do you want to do? Let's build something out of there, which is pretty cool. Does that kind of answer your question, Matt?
Yeah, that's great. I think, as you say, you guys are maybe cutting across the grain in terms of a traditional set of insurance owners, but it's always nice, I think, for EOers to know that someone else who's sitting across the table has gone through exact same growing pains in their business and can understand. So thanks for
why do you say gone through as in a past tense?
is currently living the dream, the ongoing entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah. Living the dream. The dream can be a nightmare.
Charlene's grimacing. She's like, yeah, I know that.
Yes. No, but it's all fun. It's all fun. We enjoy it, and we really like spending time with like-minded people. So, Daniel's our lead broker, works with most of our like larger clients, more complex clients. I'm out of the actual client management now, which is great. So I get to focus on all the funner things of growth and our tech stack, our staff, and just making sure that we've got everything to complement the people that need to help the clients. So I think focusing on non-technical people and bringing in some skill sets. Like, we've converted over a couple of our most senior brokers, got to a stage where they were a bit sick of doing insurance and working with clients. And because they're with us from 18, 19, they wanted to try something different. So we've got them into different roles, and they've been completely reinvigorated into what they're doing and really helping the rest of the team. So it's very exciting. It's very stressful, but we're like most people, and then you chuck in some wars and petrol prices and change of governments with what they want to do. Yeah, kids, family, just everything. It's a lot.
Everybody knows the drill. We're no different to everyone at EO by the sounds of it.
Any other questions? We've got these guys for a few more minutes. If Raya or Kimmy, you got any?
No particular questions for today. Thank you for sharing. I just sort of came and had a sticky beak. I will reach out at some point to get a review of what we've got in terms of our insurance, and we'll definitely take up the review of the client agreements as well. That would be wonderful to look at that. So thank you, guys.
Appreciate you joining us.
Very lovely to meet you.
I have a question, a quick one, hopefully. What's the like the curliest situation that you've been able to support a customer out of or into, however you want to look at that?
I just need to be mindful of not to identify anything, but if you can imagine an asset in the middle of the Pacific Ocean that was supposed to float, that ended up at the bottom of a 4-kilometer sea
with about $1 million worth of stuff attached to it.
Yeah, with a vessel burn rate of about 1.5 million US a month, and a requirement to fulfill certain obligations for their client to get certain approvals for the purpose of which they were monitoring the area and the sea. That was quite sticky. So that involves, dealing with solicitors in different countries, in different jurisdictions. That involved, dealing with currency conversions and telephone numbers and managing vessels and programs and short windows for weather and things like that to have the appropriate recovery and then redoing of the work. So, and mind you, like all the while, the client's essentially getting the pantsuit off them, as you can imagine, and dealing
and also
with
their
that
feeling as well. So
yeah, I think that's what gets missed. We talk about insurance as it seems to be so financial when you look at it. When you analyze it, it's like money in, money out, but it's so much more than that, because I would say more often than not, when somebody calls me with a claim issue, and particularly those of a professional nature, I would say more often than not, they're in tears over the phone. And I'm talking not just, there's a middle-aged men, women, old, young, there's no difference. It hits the same because it's the feeling of pride in your work and knowing that you've impacted someone else, either their project, their business, their livelihood, and you're taking all of that on board, trying to then shove that into a very dry chute of insurance land, which equates to, I have this problem, give us this money. And I think that's where we really show our kind of value, because I mean, I won't say that the insurer or their solicitors don't care as much, but they're not at the coalface. When the insurers and the solicitors are dealing with it, it's lawyer on lawyer. And that is dry. That is letters. That is going to court. That isn't the people to people, which our clients have to deal with and that we have to deal with. So I think understanding that personal approach of okay, I know what you're going through because we've seen this before. I can tell you that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Here's the check markers that we need. Because this matter went for the better part of 7 months. So it's not like I have this issue on a Monday and I've got $2 million in the bank on Friday. It's give us all the documentation, witness statements, reports, engineering, third-party assessments, lawyers backwards and forwards. That is a lot of sleepless nights. And if you think about, the story we gave, which is probably similar to a lot of entrepreneurs, the amount of bandwidth that takes from you personally to deal with that issue while you're trying to look after the needs of your staff and your clients and your P&L, like with in the background knowing that it could be all for nothing, because if there's an issue with the insurance, then there goes my house. Hopefully you've structured your your company and your trust to an appropriate way that doesn't happen, but that's the reality for a lot of businesses, and that's the stakes we're playing with. So like that is a real case and example, and I could probably give you 5 or 10, not as fun but equally as terrifying, that those were the stakes. So yeah, I think that's the thing that gets forgotten, is the personal. It's not just like, how much am I going to pay? What's the cover like? It's how are they going to respond when I need them the most?
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's most evident at the moment, especially with all the, I'm going to call it AI slop that's happening at the moment. I think
we didn't even touch upon that.
We just did a webinar about AI, so
I think you hit the nail on the head. Having the human connection is so important at the moment, and being able to create and lean on those human connections when you really need them is absolute game changer. So thank you so much for sharing that with us, and yeah, thank you for sharing your presentation with us today. I know the members will get a lot out of it, and hopefully we'll see you up this way for an event sometime soon.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
great.
guys. Good on you.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Thanks for your time, guys.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Yeah, thanks.